paschatyadesatarine Om Jnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shiguru Shujuta Padakamalam Shiguru Vaishnavamscha Serupam Sagrajatan Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabhadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Visakambitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhanu Shute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So we're reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. Let me see. Canto 3, Chapter 4, Text 28. Raja Vacha Upaghateshu Vrishni Bhujeshu Adhirata Yutapa Peshu Mukya Shatokatam Avashishta Udabhuyat Darir Api Tatyaja Akritim Triyadisha Rajovacha Nidhanam Upagateshu Vrishni Bhujeshu Adhirata Yutapa Yutapeshu Mukya Shatukatang Abhashishta Udabhoyat Darirapi Tatyaja Akritim Triyadisha. Word for word meaning. Raja Uvacha, the king inquired, Nidhanam, destruction. Upagateshu, having overtaken. Vrishni, of the Vrishni dynasty. Bhujeshu, the Bhuja dynasty. Adhirata, great commander. Yutapa, commander-in-chief. Yutapeshu, amongst them. Mukhya, prominent. Sahi, two only. Katam, how? Avashishta remained. Uddhava. Yet, whereas Hari, the personality of Godhead, Api also, Tatyaje, finished, Akritim, complete pastimes, Tri Adisha, the Lord of the three worlds. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The kings inquired, at the end of the pastimes of the Lord of the three worlds, Sri Krishna, and after the disappearance of the members of the Brishni and Bhoja dynasties, who were the best of the great commanders, why did Uddhava alone remain? Purport. According to Sri Jiva Goswami, Nidhanam means the transcendental abode of the Lord. Ni means the highest, and Dhanam means opulence. And because the abode of the Lord is the highest manifestation of transcendental opulence, his abode can therefore be called Nidhanam. Apart from the grammatical elucidation, the real purpose of the word Nidhanam is to indicate that all the members of the Brishni and Bhoja dynasties were direct associates of the Lord, and after the end of his pastimes, all the associates were dispatched to their respective positions in the transcendental abode. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur elucidates the word or the meaning of akritim as pastimes. A means complete and kritim means transcendental pastimes. Since the Lord is identical with his transcendental body, there is no question of his changing or quitting his body. To act in accordance with the rules and customs of the material world, the Lord seems to take his birth or leave his body, but the pure devotees of the Lord know well the actual fact. It is necessary, therefore, for the serious students of Srimad Bhagavatam to follow the notes and comments of the great acharyas like Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. To others who are not devotees of the Lord, the comments and explanations of such acharyas may appear to be grammatical jugglery. But to the students who are in the line of disciplic succession, the explanations of the great acharyas are quite fit. The word upagateshu is also significant. All the members of the Brishni and Bhoja directly reach the abode of the Lord. Other devotees do not reach the abode of the Lord directly, but the pure associates of the Lord have no attraction for the opulence of any planets of the material world. Sometimes, due to inquisitiveness, devotees who are to be promoted to the abode of the Lord have some attraction for the opulence of the higher material planets above the earth. And thus they desire to see them while going up to the perfection. But the Brisnis and Bojas were directly dispatched because they had no attraction for material planets. Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur also suggests that according to the Amar Kosha dictionary, Akriti also means signal. Lord Krishna ordered Uddhava by signal to go to Badarik Ashram after his departure. And Uddhava, as a pure devotee of the Lord, carried out the order more faithfully than going back to Godhead, or the abode of the Lord. That was the cause of his remaining alone even after the from the face of the earth. Hmm. Again, Raja Uvacha Nidhanam Upagateshu Vrishni Bhojeshu Adiratayutapayutapeshu Mukhya Shatu Katang Abashishta Udabho Yad Darir Api Tatyaja Akriting Tri Adisha. So the king, that means King Parikshit, is asking a question here to Srila Sukadev Goswami that even though Uddhava, who is the chief among the heads of groups, of leaders, of charioteer groups, among the Brisnis and Bojas, who had attained nearness to the Lord, how come he is remaining alone? Hmm. How is it that he remains the last one? Actually, Uddhava, he resembles Lord Krishna in his bodily feature. Um, he's a disciple of Brihaspati. Brihaspati is uh, the demigod's priest. And there was a story also whereby Uddhava was sent to Vrindavan because Brihaspati means he's very knowledgeable about the Shastra. It's like more, Uddhava is like a Jnani Bhakta. A Jnani Bhakta, that means prema is not predominant in the personality of Uddhava. So one time, Lord Krishna commissioned Uddhava to go to Vrindavan to um, send a message, like a carrier of the message, so that he will learn from the inhabitants of Vrindavan, especially the gopis, what is prem. As a Jnani Bhakta, he is lacking prem. He's a Pandit, he's a Jnani, more of a Jnani. He has this pride that I am a Jnani Bhakta. But still, he was very dear to Krishna. That when he arrived in Vrindavan, since he resembled so much as Lord Krishna's bodily features, same color, mm, bluish black, um, except there is no feather and there is no flute in his hand. So, yes, Lord Krishna was thinking, oh, he's a very dear friend of mine, but he's lacking something. I must give him the highest thing. And unless he goes to Brajabhumi to get the opportunity and associate with the gopis, he cannot develop prem. So this is Krishna's desire and Krishna's um, mercy that he sent Uddhava to Brajabhumi. So he says there that, yeah, Uddhava stayed in Vrindavan for 3 months and saw the pure, unmixed love of the gopis, unalloyed, hmm, beyond the modes of material nature, Parabhakti, Uttama Bhakti, Kevala Bhakti, Amnaya Bhakti, no tinge, no mix of jnana and karma, or desire even to enjoy by themselves. Their main purpose is to Brajabasis, to give Krishna the highest pleasure. So, yes, this Kevala Bhakti can only be found, and in the spiritual world, specifically in the highest abode of the Supreme Lord, says here in the purport by Srila Prabhupada. This Nidhanam, place where the highest transcendental abode of the Lord, where opulence uh, exceeds far greater than anywhere else. But that opulence is the simplicity. It's like in Vrindavan. Mm. The inhabitants of Vrindavan, they're very simple villagers. They're not like sophisticated society girls or men from the heavenly planets or in other places in the spiritual world, like the Vaikuntha planets. It's also full of opulence there, but you can see that they're not in that mood of like rural environment. In Brindavan, they're like farmers, milkmaids, mm, cowherd men, but they have the greatest, topmost opulence, that abode of the Supreme Lord, as we've heard from Prabhupada. Simple living, high thinking. Hmm. And it says in the purport, because the abode of the Lord is the highest manifestation of transcendental opulence, his abode is therefore called Nidanam. Hmm. But in the translation of Nidanam, Nidanam is destruction. Well, how is that? The translation given, the word Nidanam is destruction. That means after the destruction um, or annihilation in these pastimes of the Lord, the members, the family of Vrishni and Bhoja dynasties, they to wound up the pastimes of the Supreme Lord, they have to be destroyed. So there was a big fight. There was a big fight here that they killed each other. But that destruction is not the destruction of the body, the material body. Of course, the destruction of the material body. But ultimately, that leads them to be closer to Krishna, to be with Krishna. This is the meaning of how Srila Jiva Goswami gave uh, that it may seem to be that they'll be separated from Krishna physically in the material platform because they're in the pastimes happen in the material world, but ultimately they attain their original constitutional position. They attain their because the associates of the Lord are eternal also. Chinmaya Ras, they're not different than the Supreme Lord Himself, full of knowledge, bliss, and eternity. But for our own understanding and perception, seemingly that they all died, they all killed each other. But at the same time, that them being destroyed, they attained their original position in the spiritual world. Hmm. That means they attained nearness, upagateshu. Yes. So it says here, yeah, upa. They attained the Brishnis and the Bhoja dynasties, both the families, they attained nearness, upa, to Krishna. Their complete treasure, they're all in all, nidhanam. Again, that nidhanam. So how is it that again this is the way how the acharyas they give this explanation for us to understand. And as Prabhupada says, apart from the grammatical elucidation, the real purpose of the word Nidanam is to indicate that all the members were direct associates of the Lord. And at the end of his pastimes, all of these associates they were dispatched to their respective positions in the transcendental abode. That means they were reinstated to their original positions, respective positions, like the pastimes of Jai and Bijai. They're also eternal associates of the Supreme Lord. And after being killed, uh, after having this fighting spirit that the Supreme Lord would like to exhibit, and he fought with his own devotees, Jai and Vijay, who took birth three times as demons, and four times also they took birth as Jagai and Madai in the Leela of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They were reinstated as the guardians in Vaikuntha Loka. So this is how we can understand based from the explanations of the different acharyas like Srila Jiva Goswami. Because they can see more. They because they're also eternal associates of the Supreme Lord, so they can see deeper. They can explain clearly the reasons behind seemingly contradictory statements. Distraction, but at the same time, become near. It's like disappearing, but appearing again, but in closer proximity, whereby they'll be able to serve the Supreme Lord eternally. Whatever service they are meant to do for the Supreme Lord in the original forms in the spiritual world that they have attained. It's like Prabhupada says, the pastimes of the Supreme Lord is like in a movie before the hero or the heroine will appear in the movie, then all the different backgrounds, all the um, extras, all the associates that has relationship with the hero or the heroine, they will all come first, and then they will enter. The hero and the heroine, they will enter, and then when the pastimes or the movie is over, then also the hero or the heroine will exit. So Krishna's disappearance is not that because he took birth. Yes, because he took birth, then there should be a sequence whereby he has to live that role where he played to please his devotees, to attract the conditioned souls. This is the main purpose of the Lord's appearance. Hmm. It is divine. His activities, janma karma chame divyam, evam yobiti tatvata, chakvadeham punar janmana itimam iti sa Arjuna. So these pastimes of the Supreme Lord, his appearance, how can God take birth? It seems to be contradictory also. If he is God, that means he doesn't have a source and he doesn't take birth. He did not take birth. We came from the Supreme Lord. That means we have an origin, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Krishna. But God, Krishna, he doesn't have an origin. He is the origin, but for pastimes. Uh, for the sake of pastimes, to not just to annihilate the demons or to protect his devotees, but ultimately to please his devotees, to attract the conditioned souls, mm, so that we'll become attracted to go back home, back to Godhead also, and enjoy loving pastimes with the Supreme Lord when we attain that pure bhakti, Kevala bhakti, unalloyed bhakti, pure devotional service. The Supreme Lord is Bhakta Vatsala. He wants to please his devotees because he is obliged to the service they rendered unto the Supreme Lord. But he is willing to become subordinate from his devotees. Mm. Yeah, that's why he says that love of God, Krishna is the greatest, but greater than him is love of God, love of his devotees towards him. That the recitations of the Vedas is not as nectarian, it's not as enjoyable. To hear the recitation of the Vedas is amritam, but it is not as enjoyable when his devotees treats Krishna himself being subordinate. Krishna is willing to give himself up towards his devotees. Uh, so it says here that Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur also elucidates the meaning of akritim as pastimes. So where is it here? Let me see the akritim. Akritim, complete pastimes. Yes, complete pastimes of the Supreme Lord. The Lord performs his pastimes both in the material world and in the spiritual world. And in the material world, the pastimes of the Lord is also transcendental. It is not under the modes of material nature. It is complete. Divyam is this. That's what we call lila. It's not karma. His activities, the Supreme Lord's activities, is not due to karma, mm, not the result of one's fruitive activities from the past. No, unlike us, the activities that we are performing right now, uh, under the jurisdiction of the material energy, is awarded to us or is being a type of punishment for us due to our pious activities or sinful activities from the past. The Supreme Lord, no. He is transcendental at all times. That's why it says here, the Lord is identical with his transcendental body, and there is no question of his changing or quitting his body. That is the difference. Prabhupada says, uh, that's why Krishna never forgets. He always remain. He knows past, present, and future, and he remembers everything because his body never changes. Unlike our body, every moment we are changing. And according to medical science, every 12 years, all of the molecule in our body changes. Um, from birth to 12, that's a different 12 years old. Then 24, there's another set of different molecules of the body completely change. And 36, then another 48, then 60, then 72, then 84. Then complete change. But no, Krishna is eternal. He always remains the same, like a 16-year-old youth. And even Prabhupada says, even at the time of war in Kurukshetra. He is about 125 years old, where he already had so many grandchildren and great grandchildren. Hmm. So that's Lord Krishna, but still looking like a young boy. Uh, so seemingly that the Lord, in his pastimes, when he appeared 5,000 years ago, he took birth. There is this Balya Lila, there is Pauganda, and then there Kishore, uh, childhood, boyhood, and youthhood pastimes. But eternally, Lord Krishna is a 16-year-old youth, 16-year-old. So this is the form of the Lord. He takes birth, or he may leave his body, but no, he didn't live. Even right now, Krishna is present in Vrindavan, and those who are pure in their heart, they'll be able to see Krishna and talk with Krishna. But those who are contaminated, the senses, the mind, the intelligence is impure, and identifying the body as the self, they not be able to see and not be able to understand the position of the Supreme Lord. Only those who are pure devotees of the Lord, they know him very well. They know him very well. They'll be able to relate with the Supreme Lord. So, for us to understand all of this, we have to rely, follow the statements coming from the great acharyas like Srila Jiva Goswami, Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur, Sridhar Swami, Sanatan Goswami, hmm, different acharyas. But for the non-devotees, Prabhupada says here, the comments and explanations of such acharyas may appear to be grammatical jugglery. Because sometimes, see, in explaining this, is like a diamond. There are different facets, like different cuts. You see a real diamond, genuine diamond. Like someone showed me a picture of a diamond, a 5 carat diamond. you know, you know what is the size of a 5 carat diamond? Like the size of your thumb, the upper thumb, and so nicely cut, and the reflection of the light. The different refractions, because when the light hit a certain angle, it emanates a different lights. It's amazing. Um, so similarly, when it comes to the spiritual understanding, the acharyas, they see things in a different ways, but the conclusion is still Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. Um, Absolute truth. Whatever they say, because this is how philosophers are. Prabhupada says the philosophers, they present different angles of points of view, and one cannot be a philosopher if you cannot present um, in a different way. But they may be contradictory, but at the same time, in the absolute platform, everything is the same. It's true. Hmm. It's only those who are inimical, those who are non-devotees. So they will see that these acharyas, whatever they're saying, is like grammatical jugglery. Hmm. It's like flowery language. So how do you know? How do you understand? Well, we can ascertain this by practicing bhakti yoga. By practicing the process is being chalked out by the previous Acharyas themselves, hmm, um, the Mayavadis or non devotees, they will say, oh, Krishna is an illusion. This is an illusory personality. Bhakti also is illusion. Uh, there's no such thing as bhakti, there's no such thing as love of God. This doesn't exist. But even for a simple person who doesn't know how to read and write, but if he follows the instructions coming from the spiritual master, from the sadhus, and from the sastra, he can be best, better than the best Mayavadi philosopher, Mayavadi acharya. No, he may not know how to read and write, but he can explain also what is bhakti through his actions. He can explain or he can show that there is God by how he appreciate the supreme personality of Godhead and how he practice devotional service. So, it says here, the word upagate su is also significant. Because they all reach the abode, directly reach the abode of the Lord. But then Prabhupada says here, other devotees do not reach the abode of the Lord directly, but the pure devotees or associates of the Lord have no attraction for the opulence of any planets of the material world. So sometimes devotees, that means not devotees, that means mixed devotees. They can be allured, they can be attracted by the opulence of the material world. So, as Prabhupada says, oh, hmm, hmm, many of my devotees, they just want to go to the heavenly planets. That means not everyone will really wanted to attain pure bhakti because that is very rare. We still want to enjoy the material energy. We still want to hang around and experience the material pleasures that's being provided by the material world. We're not so much desiring to attain pure bhakti. And to attain that, we have to pay the price. We have to really be determined. We have to be convinced. We have to perform austerities. And the greatest austerity is the chanting of the holy name purely, attentively. And once we reach that pure chanting, then we don't have to hanker to anything materially. As Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one of the six Shastakams, na danam na janam na sundarim kavyam bhajagat isha kamaye mama janmani janmanesware babatad bhaktir ahaituki tvaye. Na danam na janam na sundarim. I don't want any wealth. Na danam na janam. I don't want any followers. I don't want any attraction towards the opposite sex. I only want your devotional service birth after birth. So that is very rare. To reach the above the Supreme Lord, we have to be in that platform and chant purely the holy name. So if we are going to be diverted, and usually that is the case, that's why we're still in the material world. Birth after birth, we're being diverted. Instead of pursuing to directly go back to Godhead, we want to, again, stay a little while. Stay a little while. Just go to the higher material planets and enjoy. No. So here, the last statement given here is that Uddhava was given an instruction coming from the Supreme Lord himself to go to Badarik Ashram. Badarik Ashram is in the Himalayas. Why is it that Uddhava became the only one who is the last person to remain alone after the Lord's departure from the face of the earth? Um, the instruction of the Supreme Lord or the instruction from the spiritual master is none different than the master or the Supreme Lord. So it doesn't matter how difficult the instruction coming from the Supreme Lord or the spiritual master, we should, that should be our life and soul. We have to fulfill that. Because by doing so, there is no separation from the Supreme Lord or from the spiritual master. Because along with the instruction coming from the Supreme Lord or the spiritual master, the blessings comes along for that to be fulfilled. And even though it may against my will to do it, I should do it. Because that is the goal, to please Guru and Krishna. And if they're pleased, then there's no such thing as separation, even though physically we're apart from the Supreme Lord or our spiritual master. So Uddhava is instructed. He was instructed by the Supreme Lord to do this, to go to Badarik Ashram, because he has to meet um, certain personalities there. This like Vidura. Even though Vidura is older. So Uddhava cannot instruct Vidura. That's why he has to tell Vidura to meet Maitreya to be instructed in the science of the Supreme Absolute Truth. So those who are fortunate to follow the instructions coming from the spiritual master, it's not different than the instructions coming from the Supreme Lord. And if they fulfill that instruction wholeheartedly, then they'll be blessed to go back home, back to Godhead also after this lifetime. So this was the cause of his remaining alone, Uddhava, even after the departure of the Lord. He has some special mission to perform, and we will read that later on. Okay, will you stop here now? Any questions or comment? Haribo?
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for this beautiful, wonderful sharing of Krishna Katha. Sri Prabhupada said a lot in the purport, which is very interesting. And of course, you highlighted them all. Dear devotees, if anyone may have questions, comments, realizations, you may want to ask or share, please indicate by using the hand emoji or your physical hand, and you'll be asked to unmute to ask your question or to share your reflections. Hare Krishna. Maharaj, first surprise I got from this text is how Sri Prabhupada was saying that Uddhava, no, let me put it this way. Uddhava, we understand, is a pure devotee. And Sri Prabhupada explains why he alone was left behind, just like Maharaj Parikshit was asking Shukadev question. Now, Sri Krishna asked him to stay behind to help the devotees. The same way Sri Ram also asked Hanuman to stay behind to help the devotees.
Mhm.
Now, these great devotees, Hanuman, Uddhava, they are still here on earth, but most of us cannot have access to them. So, how are we actually benefiting from their presence here on earth?
When we hear their instructions, like in the 11th canto, there's the Uddhava Gita.
Mhm.
You've heard of that? So we associate through Vani, which is more important than Vapu. Vani is eternal. Physical is temporary, even though they're pure devotees. But again, for pastime sakes, and no one lived forever. Even Lord Krishna, who is eternal, he's still in Vrindavan. He's still in Vrindavan, but those who are pure in their heart, they can see him and they can relate to him. So, yeah, through Vani, we associate with them. It's like Prabhupada. Many of us, we did not that fortune to associate and have the physical presence of Srila Prabhupada be experienced or seen with our own two eyes. So, yes, Vani is more important than Vapu when it comes to association. Yeah, it's like Hanuman. Hanuman is still a lot around. He's still present. Yeah, whenever we hear the pastimes of the Lord Ram. Without Hanuman, there is no Ramayan. Without Arjuna, there is no Bhagavad Gita. Without Uddhava, we will not know what is real, genuine love of God. Because through him, through Uddhava, by sending Uddhava to Vrindavan, we heard the highest level of prem when Shrimati Radharani was talking to a bumblebee. This will never be experienced. This will never be heard. You will not be able to. We're not be able. There's no avenue. There's no way how to present this. And Uddhava so highly elevated, but because he still not doesn't have that Kevala Bhakti, that means pure, unalloyed Bhakti. His Bhakti is tinged with Gyan, Jnana Mishra Bhakti. So we associate with these great personalities when we hear their pastimes, when we hear their teachings. That's the best way how we can appreciate them and follow their instructions, follow in their footsteps. Like Narad Muni, Narad Muni. We never see Narad Muni, but we heard of him. As Prabhupada says, Narad Muni kindly appears in every page of the Bhagavatam, in each page of the Bhagavatam. So by their teachings, we get their mercy, we get their blessings, especially when we follow their instructions. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Maharaj. The last stanza of the Gora Arati song,
Mm-hmm.
it says, Shiva Shubhana Radha,
Mm-hmm.
whenever there is bhakti going on, these great personalities also make their presence there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But they did not stay in the bodies as people knew them on this earth. And that is why I was asking, yeah, I accepted that the money is more important. But the Supreme Lord, even though Krishna knew that he had already given the Uddhava Gita to Uddhava, he still asked him to stay behind.
Yeah.
And that's why I was wondering if he stayed behind then there must be some reason to it. But most of us cannot see him. Most of us cannot assess him except through
Yeah.
the instructions. So
Some
I
some
was wondering why the Supreme Lord asked him to stay behind.
Because there's some mission. It says that the devotees are more merciful than the Supreme Lord Himself.
Mm.
There are things that the devotees can do. Even He says that to Arjuna. Declare boldly that my devotee never perishes. He told that to Arjuna, isn't it? Because the devotees they're more merciful than the Supreme Lord Himself. Look at Lord Nityananda. Even though Lord Chaitanya is considered as Namo Mahavadanyaya, is the most merciful, but more merciful than Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Lord Nityananda. Otherwise, Jaga and Madai will not be saved. So the mission of the Supreme Lord, they're very important, but when his devotees execute them, then the devotees becomes more significant in a sense. Like, as I said, without Arjuna, there is no Bhagavad Gita. Without Hanuman, there is no there is no such thing as Ramayan. Without Uddhava, will not be able to understand the love of the Brajavasis. How can it be explained? And for him to remain, that means he has a special mission to complete. So that we'll hear the conversation between Maitreya and Vidura, which is a lot of, great part of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So these things are there ultimately for when Lord Krishna he instructs his devotees ultimately is for the benefit of everyone. For the benefit of everyone. And that is more important because when his devotees deliver the message, it becomes more sweet, more nectarian. It's like Sukadev Goswami. How is it a 16-year-old boy in the presence of great personalities like Vyas, Narad Muni, Devala, Asita, all the great sages in the universe? Sukadev Goswami was chosen. Sukadev was chosen to narrate the Srimad Bhagavatam, isn't it? So it is good. Prabhupada, he fulfilled, his guru told him to preach to the English speaking world. How is it at the age of 70 he had to go? He could have just stayed in Vrindavan. So the instruction is very important. As we mentioned earlier, these instructions coming from Guru and Krishna, it should be our life and soul. And each and every one of us are given a specific instruction. Oh, I'm sure. All those who receive initiation from a bona fide spiritual master, uh, they must have a specific. But overall, Prabhupada says, of all the instructions coming from the spiritual master, chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the utmost, most important. Doesn't matter what we do during the day. Like I'm seeing here, a devotee here is driving a vehicle. You see? But I'm sure he's very serious also. He still managed to hear. He still managed to hear
Yeah.
our sangha here. That is highly commendable. I really appreciate this devotee. He's very sincere. isn't it? Our priority is to go back home, back to Godhead. So it
Very
doesn't
much. Yes,
matter what
Maharaj.
we do. Huh?
Yes, Maharaj.
Yeah, look at him.
Hare Krishna.
Okay, any more question or comment?
Anyone with something to ask? Yeah. I think Govinda probably have something to ask.
Yes, Hare Krishna, sir. Thank you very
Okay, Hare
much.
Krishna.
Maharaj, please accept my respectful obeisances.
Hare
All glories to
Bol.
you.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada. And thank you very much for this wonderful presentation.
Mm-mm.
Maharaj, my question, of course, the answers to Sadhu Prabhu's question is very clear, but transcendental knowledge is as deep as an ocean. So we try to dive deep, but still, we are not going to touch the bottom of it.
Yeah.
And so, so the answers given is truly accepted. But you see, Srila Prabhupada was sent here to this planet to come and help out, to come and help us. Our spiritual masters were also sent to come and help.
Mm-mm.
But after their mission, I remember when my Guru Maharaji was passing away,
Mm-hmm.
I think about a week before his passing, devotees were quick, and the answers, some of the answers that came was that has finished his mission here.
Mm-mm.
All what he was asked to come and do, he has done it. He has given us everything, and his presence in other planets also need. And so Krishna wants him to go, Srila Prabhupada wants him to go, and they came somewhere else for the same mission. And so he has to leave us. He's still here with us, by his message, his books.
Yes.
He's still, alive.
Mm-mm.
But Uddhava and Hanuma case, like Sadhu Prabhu asked, they were asked to stay back. They were asked to stay back, but our gurus were not asked to stay back after giving us everything requires for our nourishment and our elevation to the spiritual world. So that is a dilemma. What you're answering the question. But my question again is that of a pure devotee. I understand when a devotee leaves the planet, and if he is to go back to Godhead, he still has to join Krishna in his pastime somewhere to be trained, to be more experienced before back to Godhead. Does that apply to every devotees have to go through training? Because if it's coming from a spiritual world directly,
No, it says in Bhagavad
what is
Gita.
coming from a spiritual world directly?
No. Is that your question?
Yeah, that's my question. If one is coming directly from a spiritual world,
no, you don't go back to
or an
spiritual.
assignment, and he has finished the assignment and go back.
You don't go back to the spiritual world immediately. You have to be trained up somewhere in one of the universes. It's like apprenticeship. You don't become a professional immediately. You need to be an assistant first. Learn how to do it properly. That's part. It's like you're being trained up. And once you're ready, you go back to Godhead. But that being trained up is already also in the spiritual platform. It's not mundane anymore.
So does that apply to Nitya Siddhas also?
Look at Ajamil. Look at
I'm talking
Ajamil.
about those coming.
Look at Ajamil. He didn't go back immediately to the spiritual world, even though he was chanting Narayana's name. We have to chant purely the holy name. That's our ticket to go back home, back to Godhead. We have to learn how to serve. Look at Uddhava. He needs to go to Vrindavan to learn. Okay, I have to go now.
Maharaj. Okay, Maharaj, excuse me. Before I sent you a message in the chat room. Did you see it? Please?
No. Would like to have your contact with him for what?
If you, yeah.
Prabhuji,
So,
the problem here is like,
we can do that later on, Maharaj.
Prabhuji, the problem that I'm facing being with you is that the schedule is kind of late. For you, it's okay. You're 3 o'clock or early in the morning there.
Yeah.
But Brindavan, 9:30 is late.
Okay.
I don't want to miss your association, but at the same time, I'm finding it like sometimes difficult. I know you're all very sincere, even though I'm sure later on there'll be more who will, because this is being recorded. They will hear. They will, right? They will see. Which is this is like very highly appreciated of your sincerity. This group is called Africa, but and Brindavan. I can write my number. Um, Giridhari, what's her name? Giridhari Puja, something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rarely she will. Rarely she will contact me. Also, it took us a while to again to connect, but I don't mind when I'm traveling, because now I'm gonna travel the next 2 months. So maybe the timing you can check. I'll put my number. Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
I appreciate all of your participation because you're all very having good questions. Your inquiries are um, very good. Okay, I just sent you.
Yes.
Yeah, but I really
Thank you,
appreciate. It's
Maharaj.
just that I would like to. When I travel, maybe my timing will be a little less. Something not like this.
Yeah.
Because we get up really early.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sahadev
We
Prabhu.
understand.
Thank you, Sahadev Prabhu. Thank you,
Hare
Quadho,
Krishna. Thank you so much, Maharaj.
Madhubhan, Anadini Dhanam, and many, many more devotees there. Okay.
All right. So, dear devotees, Hare Krishna, we thank you very much. We're going to humbly request you all to kindly unmute, and we all chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra to express our appreciation to His Holiness, Janardhan Swami, for being with us and sharing his love and wisdom.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Chant our Father, dear God, all glories to His Holiness Janardhan Swami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hare Krishna. Dandavats.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Right, so devotees, we thank you all for being here as always, and we hope to see you all again